Chapter 7 Smoke Signal. We start in an alley. Chihiro is exhausted and wants to get away. Here, another opponent stands before him, with a design that was shown in Chapter 3, when Hinao mentioned the number of sorcerers in Tokyo. It's not only him, three others join the mix and they both surround the boy. When he was about to defend himself, a fourth man shows up, tells Chihiro to not do anything, only to proceed to beat the three guys effortlessly. One of the men has a pretty interesting power. While he sings an incantation, it appears that the flesh of the Aether is slowly losing its integrity, which makes him bleed profusely. Although this is quite strong, the singer isn't as resilient. The man with the Oni mask, witnessing their beating, says a vague thing about the nation and runs away. The helper talks to Chihiro amicably, and the boy confirms that he is a member of the Kamunabi, a group that is affiliated with the government. What makes Azami so impressive is that he got the better of those three opponents without use of any sorcery. He was so into his job that he didn't notice the bleeding of his hand, and after doing so, that is when he starts to scream in pain. Ladies and gentlemen, I love this character already. I was so scared to see another fight after the last chapter, but we got rewarded instead with a new friend. What else is there to ask? Back at the cafe, the gang is all here and the Azami guy seems familiar with the bunch. He now wanted to put Char under Azami's care, but he cannot since his main goal remains to remove any threats to the nation. This is good news for Char, who frantically flares her oversized coat, but also for the story because she provided pertinent lore and adds a very nice dynamic to the group. We learn two things from this interaction. 1. The Kamunabi group appeared during the Great War. 2. Shiba was a part of it. I cannot help but squint my eyes when I hear of a group of people who are under any government in a manga. I know that at a point, Chihiro might cross paths with Azami, perhaps as rivals, and some part of me wishes it will happen. A good twist would be if the government is actually good in a story. I do not believe it. Anyway, the reason that Mr. Big Shot's here is to bring Shiba to his superiors to get further explanations on his intentions. After all, they made such an impression in public that it would be foolish to keep this information to himself. As per Azami's position, it seems that he is a friend, given that he did not divulge anything about the Seventh Blade and Chihiro's existence. The atmosphere is increasingly getting more dire approaching the Rakusa Ichi, an annual black market auction held by the kingpins. The object sold? Kunishige Yokuhira's Sinouchi, one of the 6 enchanted blades. Since Sojo submitted it, I suspect that it is a trap to lure Chihiro out. I mean, he reported to the wizard with the flame mark and another man that everything is going smoothly on his part. Weird. The scarred board infers his involvement with the Hishaku, which is proven to be true, and even before he gets the idea of participating, Azami gives him the truth, that is that Chihiro is incapable of fighting Sojo in equal terms. If the nation wasn't able to stop his activities 10 years after blacklisting him, what can he do? Chihiro lies knowing damn well that he will attend that auction. Azami accepts this attitude and tells him to be ready before that time. End of the chapter. This is probably my favorite chapter thus far. What I thought would be a fight at the beginning was merely an introduction to a character that is giving me mixed flags regarding his position towards the group. Regardless, his purpose was to announce a pretty interesting auction that will see the light of day in a month. It is brilliant because we know that Sojo and Chihiro will cross swords. The latter might even acquire a newly enchanted blade in his fight against the dealer, who seems way out of his league so far. I can only hope for the fight to end in a close match as the protagonist uses the 2 enchanted blades to finish him. Good storytelling is when you know what thread the story will walk on and still feel excited for its execution. Also, the interactions in the group are great, the paneling is better than the last chapter, and I still enjoy the art that shines with the grays and darks. I am hyped. One last detail is that Azami removed the hunt against Chihiro. Chapter 8 Norisaku Madoka I Will Change. This is an impressive chapter that we got this week. So flabbergasting that I'm writing this within the hour of it coming out. The characters are in the cafe. Chihiro is stuck pondering over his lack of strength. Char is playing a Japanese pawn game in her sleep. Shiritori, while Hinao is cleaning. Then, the story takes a surprising turn. The author delves into the life of Cylinderhead, who is actually named Norisaku Madoka. Back when Shiba was aggressively interviewing him, he proposed him to turn his life around. Judging by a piece of dialogue, it seems like his explosive power got him rejected by his family in the past, which would have led him towards this path. It is very interesting. In manga, a lot of good guys have benevolent powers such as healing or protection. The inverse goes for villain. But when you stop to think for a second, how would you be accepted if you had destructive powers like poison, bombs, or disintegration? Everyone would be scared of you, consequently pushing you towards resentment and evil. So in a way, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This makes me sympathize with Cylinderhead a lot more. Well anyway, Madoka took Shiba's advice and phoned his sister regarding his present situation. He quits being a sorcerer. He understands how wrong his actions were and plans to apologize to his mother with her, the former who didn't respond to his calls. The next day, his sibling picks him up to support his decision. A very heartwarming scene, however. Sojo transpierces her and stabs him with Cloud Gouger. It is also implied that he removed Norisaku's mother from existence. The new man wanted to explode in order to take him down with him, but his attack gets stalled by Cloud Gouger. Outside the car, Sojo mentions that his sister was only unconscious and insults his ability to finish the job properly. Then, he sheathes his sword and the explosion continues. This was so tragic, for Madoka technically killed his sibling for nothing. What makes it even worse is that he truly wanted to change, but Sojo didn't believe in redemption, as he stated earlier to commit his lifetime to the path that he chose. He's already a great villain for that scene alone because it shows how proactive he is. Sojo is not the type of villain to sit in a poorly lighted room only to complain when things doesn't go his way. The Dark Man goes out of his way to kill people who didn't accomplish the task, showing how seriously he takes his job. And it's not over. In the next scene, he meets the brother of the sorcerer with the power of chroma from chapter 6, who witnesses death. The latter hired the Kingpin to kill Chihiro. It seems that he doesn't know the reputation of the person whom he asked to do the job because, upon receiving the information, he grabs him with the intent of finishing him off, only to relieve a trauma which lasted, similarly to last time, a few seconds. A beautiful panel shows a tremendous amount of dead bodies floating, while his younger self stayed in place. From this, I am surmising that his innate ability is levitation. Yet, this little trick did not stop Sojo's act from being committed. Suddenly, he is at the cafe, arriving at the same time that Hinao said, "Happy to help," at the beginning of the chapter. His immediate move was to take a swing at her, which Chihiro ran to parry. While he keeps his stance, he tells the girl to leave the place. Sojo shouted Mei, that is the Japanese word for sprout or government, which means that he is invoking Cloud Gouger's strength. After the commotion, Char gets woken up and she witnesses the two swordsmen's battle. Chihiro calls Enten, having the knowledge that he cannot beat Sojo. The chapter ends with a neat double page, where smoke coming out of Cloud Gouger is taking the shape of a dragon. What makes this chapter even better than the last one is the fact that Sojo is seen as a very original main antagonist. Firstly, he goes out of his way to eliminate the people who cannot finish the job that he offered, instead of sulking in his room angrily because Chihiro ruined his plans. Secondly, in the same chapter, Genichi confronts the protagonist. While it was stated in the last chapter that Chihiro has no chance of winning, it's a twist on their training before a major event trope, and it adds a lot of tension because it completely breaks our expectations. Finally, as I wished in my earlier reviews, the mangaka fleshed out two minor villains and gave them an interesting link to the story. Madoka's end was tragic, amplified by Sojo's trick, which consisted of making him exploit his own sister. So now let me ask one question. Since Chihiro's fish are a hyper-concentrated form of his spirit energy, based on Chapter 4's explanations, wouldn't the dragon be Genichi's spirit energy's representation? Cloud Gouger is named as such because of his smoke properties, obviously, but since it amplifies the spirit energy of a person, the shape of the smoke should be unique, right? Meaning that if Chihiro grabbed the blade, the smoke would have the form of his fish and not of a dragon. What do you guys think? Share me your thought process in the comments. I think an enchanted blade adds one or multiple properties to a blade, but the shape of the things flying around should be different for everyone wielding it. Is the dragon Genichi's or Cloud Gouger's? I'm curious to see what you're gonna write.